are you? I'm the Faun. Welcome once more to your favorite opinion space, the Faun's Weekly. At this point in the year, we all know that the infamous Mexican Taekwondo Federation spends its time trying to be the absolute owners of the aforementioned sport and how to squeeze every last penny out of its members. Furthermore, they persist in treating these members as little more than subjects and turn abuse into a form of governance. I can't figure out how this works, because bullying them due to the success that the last tournaments had works well for them very well. Obviously, blackmail is their main tool. Aside from the lack of dignity they show to the majority of their members, I could more or less understand someone wanting to stay in the core of the Federation. But when you know things like what I saw during these first months of the year, I no longer understand what's going through the minds of these Federation members to allow themselves to be trampled on in the way they have. Let's not even talk about the entire duration of the current administration, but just this current year. But let's take it one step at a time. Firstly, this year's co-sets were announced during the same dates as an official WT practice was scheduled in Querétaro. Having one of these practices in our country should have filled a stadium, but it didn't. And although the event was far from empty, the participation of Mexican athletes and coaches was quite poor, considering the popularity and the love that exists in our country for this martial arts sport lifestyle. That's not even mentioning that it was the first time globally that coaches and athletes were admitted to a WT referee course. It was a truly wasted opportunity, but it's not surprising, since Billy the Kid's administration cares about the money they can take and has little or no interest in raising the level of Taekwondo in general. You know, the athletes don't matter, and neither do the coaches, let alone the referees. The reason or pretext that Billy the Kid used to justify scheduling the tournament on these dates is that it is always done between January and March. I mean, it didn't matter that the WT event was announced months before. They scheduled it in January because they were behind schedule to start the national qualifiers with ARA, when it is well known that in order to participate in such an event, you don't need any course, let alone an improvised one with obsolete international people teaching concepts like those that occurred in this last tournament. But hey, it's not just the fact that Billy the Kid's whims affect the sport. He could just be a crazy guy yelling nonsense to the clouds. If it weren't for the retinue of prostitutes who unconsciously applaud him in everything. Although you don't call them that, you call them convention presidents. Yes! Those treacherous rats approved a lot of agreements in the last Federated Congress of Los Cabos which are completely detrimental to sports, and which just ended taking us back to the 1970s, when the hegemonic school held sway. That is, they don't even understand what a federation is for, and they don't care. Let's go over why it's a document that's worth studying because of the stupidity that it explicitly handles. First of all, the Taekwondo or Cosette Training and Certification Congresses will be divided into 4 zones, each with its responsible owner. So far, so good, distributing money to the prostitutes because that's what prostitutes have, that you have to pay them on top of it. Secondly, all coaches, school heads, and umpires must complete this annual training. That is, everyone has to comply with the whim of a bunch of short-sighted people. Thirdly, you can only participate in the Cosette that corresponds to your region, and you can't take it in another region. Again, one more service for the prostitutes. So if you, esteemed professor, happen to have to leave or a commitment during those days because he will no longer have it as he needs to go to the Cosette to give away his money. 4. There will be no other Cosette after the date set by the Mexican Taekwondo Federation. And in the calls, there will be no coach payment. This is if someone was wondering why so many people attended these courses, don't think it was voluntarily. In fact, I believe the ones who willingly attend this are in the minority. 5. You are hereby informed that the endorsements for the individual tournaments, caps and dual meet, apart from fulfilling the requirements previously established by the Mexican Taekwondo Federation in the set format, must have a viewer from the state association to review and enforce the event organizer with the following. Does not accept athletes and teachers who are not affiliated to the Mexican Taekwondo Federation and that all the teachers participating in the event will have to present their credentials from the COSET 24, or else they won't be allowed to compete. This is my favorite point because it's the one where the whores start working. Yeah, I think it's really serious, that desire to control everything just for the sake of it. They don't realize it's an impossible task. In other words, there is no longer freedom of anything. You can't get together with the rabble, and you also have to pay for someone to watch you. It is ridiculous, impractical, and the product of the megalomania of someone who isn't mentally balanced. But as they say, the fault isn't with the Indian. 6. The endorsement will not be given to all those who do not present enough judges to carry out a tournament. For example, one combat area is equal to 5 judges. That means if you take the COSET, 10 judges are equal to 2 areas of competency, and so on. That's just the way it is. This point is written long, but what I understand from it is that you have to hire Federation judges in order to hold your event. It's a shame to say it, but Federation judges are currently the least prepared, with a couple of worthy exceptions that probably won't be available for local events. 7. The fees for the judges of Taekwondo will be as follows. And well, here he lists the judges' fees, which by the way are all below what World Taekwondo stipulates as a minimum. Because of course the judges don't matter, neither the athletes nor the coaches. If in itself it is not easy to organize a tournament with these provisions, it has just been put into place. That is, it not only is the desire to segregate those who do not belong to the federated club, they have already been doing that for a long time. Now segregation is official, and even for its own affiliates. So if you don't have the money to fulfill the whims of Billy the Kid and pay for all the extras that are not going to bring you anything for your event, then you can't do it. Or you'll be incurring a fault. Even though your school's in good standing, you've got the COSET certificate and so on and so forth. These provisions are only going to do one thing, make the small tournaments disappear. And that's a shot in the foot for the very body that should be looking out for the exact opposite. Why do they want a federation? Why do they pay to affiliate with a federation? To get hit. It's a practice that's very much misunderstood, and it's not an event of this world of punches and kicks. Of course, the small tournaments will disappear in Federationland because in the real world, there will always be events every weekend, and there will always be a way to bypass these stupid rules. The Mexican Federation is trying to chew much more than it's capable of swallowing, but sadly people who could raise their voices jump in on their own to get chewed. For all of the above, I inaugurate the 2024 segregation season. Let's wait to see what stories come after this year. Of course, the document containing all this info can be found in the description of this video for download. Watch it and have a good laugh, or cry for a clear picture of Tecate. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing to the channel, giving it a thumbs up, turning on notifications, and of course telling a friend. Sharing our content is the best way to support us, but if you also want to lend a hand in a more tangible way, I invite you to check out the channel's memberships or visit the virtual store.